This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program is rated PG and may contain language and material that may be slightly offensive to some audiences. With us on this episode of The Havery Show, we have one of the most colorful characters I have ever known in my entire life. One of Highlands County's most ardent live music supporters, a snappy dresser, one heck of a dancer, former educator, the man who I believe is credited for bringing the first health food store to Highlands, to Sebring anyway, my friend Gerard "Jerry" Twinkle Toes DeWind.
That's the truth.
You're credited with, it was apple a day.
No. Food for
thought. I'm sorry.
Talking
Food for
about
thought.
my competition.
Yeah,
It's long gone.
That's true. Okay, so Food for Thought, that was over in the Southgate Plaza.
Okay, no. Food for Thought now has carrots on the front, right by Five Guys across from Nissan on 27. Originally, though, when we came in 78, after the blizzard of 77 in Buffalo, New York, which killed 28 people, frozen their cars, I decided to go to Florida. So I had a little Montgomery Ward up there. I sold it, moved down here and started Food for Thought in Avon Park, Florida.
In Avon Park?
Yes, because the Adventist Hospital was up there at that time. It was on 27 North. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so they were our primary customers were the Adventists in Avon Park. They had the hospital.
Yes. Was that Walker Memorial at that
Yes.
point still? Okay, before they knocked it down?
Right.
That's where I was born.
Yep. There you go.
That's right. So you started in Avon Park.
Started in
before you
Avon
moved
Park.
And
then we got divorced in 1980.
Okay.
The store was still in Avon Park. In fact, I taught at Avon Park Correctional Institute in the school there, and she ran the store during the day. And then I would come in, help her after work, and on weekends I would be there. But we got divorced in 80. She got the store, and I got the house and kids.
Okay.
So at that time, I moved to Sebring, built this identical house that I had in Avon Park because I started teaching at Sebring High School.
That was what year?
1980, August of 80.
Yep. You hopped into Sebring High School right around the same time I did.
Yeah, I kept an eye on you. I didn't get one of those famed T-shirts, though. Dave Bollinger Fan Club.
Listen, man, you had to sign up for those.
Oh, we're both still alive. Dave Bollinger and me are both still alive. So see, it's that Sebring High lifestyle.
That's right.
Keeps you young.
Absolutely.
All those kids running wild, like Harry Havery.
Come on now.
Boy, he barely got out. He had trouble with science.
I did.
He thought he was going to bluff his way out. He never did it.
It's funny. I trace my I hate to say a dislike of science class back to my first teacher in 6th grade. I'm not going to mention her name.
Okay.
But man, she made science not fun. And I guess it carried. And I loved my teachers.
Sebring has good teachers. I had two girls graduate from Sebring High. I had Catherine DeWind and Margaret DeWind.
Yes, and what years were they, roughly?
They graduated in 91 and 94.
Okay.
I was a single parent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, after the divorce in 80, I got custody of both daughters. And at that time, it was kind of a very rare thing for a husband or a father to get custody of girls, especially. So that was kind of like the health food store. The health food store is pretty new to Highlands County. Yeah. I was the only one. In fact, we incorporated that name. Food for Thought is incorporated in the state of Florida.
Gotcha.
I actually own that name.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was the first single father, I think, in Highlands County at that time. They got custody.
Right.
So it was tough. I think Margaret was in kindergarten, my oldest, and Catherine was like 3 years old. So it was a long grind, and both did go to the University of Central Florida.
Wow. Both
graduated. One's a CPA, and one is a early childhood ed teacher.
Well, you've done real well.
Both married good and married up.
Yeah, you approve?
Oh, yeah.
You got any grandkids?
Yeah, plenty.
Plenty.
One's got 4, one's got 3.
Wow, that's plenty, all right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, not to talk about your competitor, but who had the food The health food store in Southgate over by Crenshaw's.
That lady and her husband, I think one of them worked at Publix. I think
that was Apple a Day.
Yeah, I think she might have worked at Publix at one time. And they ran a good business for a long time. I used to go in there and get stuff. Yeah. And I think they just decided to go out of business.
So when your place was in Avon Park, did you ever have a Sebring store in addition to that one?
No,
it was just the one in Avon Park?
Just Avon Park.
Okay.
And then when my wife got ownership of it, she kept it for a few years there in Avon Park, and then she sold it.
Okay.
And the people she sold it to moved it to Sparta Road.
Okay.
It was there, the Tower View Plaza.
Yes.
They had a little store in there.
Okay.
And then they eventually sold it to the present owners.
Gotcha.
And they've had it probably 25 years, Rocky and whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I go in there and I see them. And they have a lot of seminars and so forth I still go to. I always have an interest in health.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always after Harry Avery. I'm trying to shape him up to get him. My goal is to get him to live to 100.
I don't want to be 100.
That's a task.
Listen, man, I know that is the brass ring for you. You're always talking about how you're going to make it.
77.5 now.
You're going to make it. I know you're going to make it.
See, I live in Sebring, which helps because it's very comfortable here. It's a great place to live. Everything's cheap.
Yes.
Got good people. And if you've been here 47 years, you know where all the bathrooms are and all the churches. So, I go to a lot of churches for the concerts.
Yeah, you are one of the most ardent and loved music supporters.
Yeah,
everybody
I go to any music.
Oh, you do. You're
I go
covered
to choral
all
concerts. I go to orchestras. Anything that's out if it's free, especially
if it's free.
It's free. I'm there. Does it say free up here? And I get a lot of free meals.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I do.
Yeah.
Churches feed me good.
Yeah. Oh, churches have the best food, especially if it's a potluck.
Yeah, and
you'd be hard pressed to find better food than at any church potluck, especially in the South.
That's true. Yeah, and they're all good people too. And you go to a church thing, you got good people.
That's right. Yeah, no.
And as you get older, you need stuff a little earlier in the evening.
Yep, that's right.
So it works out.
You support all types of music in Highlands County.
I love anything.
Yeah.
My dad was an old, and back in, they had the violins and fiddles, and he would go to, he was a farmer, so he didn't get much entertainment.
Is this in Newark, New York?
Yeah, where you visited. Mm-hmm. I compliment you for visiting my hometown.
Absolutely.
You actually took pictures and posted them on Facebook.
I did.
Where I actually worked as a high school student, the Western Auto. Yeah. You actually took a picture of that place. Right. You took a picture of all the churches.
Yes.
Because you knew I was in all those
That's
churches.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that was good.
Your dad was a farmer?
Yep.
Tell me about the farm.
Well, the farm's hard work. I used to, my dad would make me take the manure out with a manure spreader, tractor. I knew how to drive a tractor very well. And they'd fill up the manure spreader. At that time, those years, we used to pull it behind the tractor. But you take it out on the land and you would put the power takeoff on, and all the poop would go out onto the land. Mm-hmm. And you'd have to bring it back in. But then I had to get on the school bus. And you know who was called Stinky on the school bus?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I had to take that manure out every morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you work hard on the farm. And one thing about my dad, he gave me an acre of cabbage. We raised a lot of cabbage up there because we had a lot of sauerkraut plants.
Yes.
You wouldn't think this, but sauerkraut actually comes from cabbage. They put it in big vats and they put some cabbage down, then they'll layer it with some salt, put more cabbage on, layer with some more salt, and then they let that sit for at least 6 months, and it ferments, and that's how you make sauerkraut.
You like sauerkraut?
I love it.
Do you?
I'm an old health food guy. I make a senior soup, and it's one of those big aluminum pots that you get in a restaurant in the back the cooks make. Okay, and I make a big soup, and it lasts me for 2 weeks.
Really?
I put it in the back of my fridge on the top shelf. Yeah. I keep the meat separate, and it's got every vegetable known to man, including some fruit. I put in some citrus. Yeah. I put in green tea. So I put in apples. All right. Put a lot of vegetables.
Yes.
But always keep the meat separate because your meat will make it go bad. But if you just do vegetables and you keep it on the top shelf of your fridge, it'll actually last 2 weeks. So I have a bowl of that every day.
Senior soup.
Senior soup.
Your own personal
it's
special
very
recipe.
Healthy. It's got everything known to man in it.
Yeah.
And it's got green olives in it, olive oil.
Sure.
But if you use the whole olive, you're even getting the better. But I use green tea also. And so it's a very good, and it tastes good. I put in a jar of spaghetti sauce. Even if you hate it beforehand, you'll love it afterwards. So the secret is a jar of spaghetti sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were after me for the longest time about fish oil. Are you still a big fish oil guy?
Well, you can get that, but I regularly eat the regular fish, sardines. I always remember I used to bring you a can of
Ollies.
sardines,
Yes.
79 cents.
79 cents.
See, I buy them when it's cheap. I got a house full of sardines. Now, if you go up there, they're $2.79.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You should have bought them all when they had them.
We are working on your brain, remember?
Oh, I know. Well, my brain has been known to have its peaks
Ever
and valleys.
since Dave Bollinger Doe.
Oh, Mr. Bollinger was a saint.
He's
to
a
put
good
up
guy,
with
and
my
he's
crap.
still alive.
Yeah. He's moved away.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, that's my competition for 11 to 100.
There you go.
Now, Ruth Hanley is still alive.
Yeah, I got to see her about 6 weeks ago.
I think she's going to be 97 real soon. Now, I've kissed her.
Uh-huh.
Both cheeks. I saw her up to college a year ago.
Yeah.
And she was with her granddaughter. And I gave her a kiss on one cheek when I first started talking with her. And I talked with her for quite a while. And I said, well, Ruth, you better get in there and catch the concert. And then I kissed her on the other cheek. So I may be the last man that ever kisses that woman.
You may well be.
That's an honor.
I got to see her. I guess it's been a couple months now, but man, she had some things to say.
She's a beautiful woman.
Kind of shook me up a little bit.
There's
some
a
of her
hometown
wisdom.
hero.
You're not lying. That's
She
a
is.
fact.
Now, when I first went to Sebring High, she was in the first hall teaching English.
That's right.
And she became an assistant principal
Yes.
at Sebring High.
She was when I was there.
Then she ran to be superintendent and won. And I think she was it for a couple of terms.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Excellent
Wally
lady.
came along.
And she never forgot you.
That's right.
You could always go talk to her. Like I say, when I saw her at the college, it was just like we've been together 40 years and still seeing each other every day, which wasn't the truth. When she goes to the county office, you don't see her too often. Yeah. But she's a sweet lady.
She really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looking
legend.
good, feeling. I could dance with that lady.
Oh, speaking of dancing.
Yeah.
If you are a female and you have a pulse and you're within 100 yards of you, you're going to track them down and get them out.
I always do the read, though, Harry. I got to see if she's dancing in her seat like this, I say, well, that's my lady.
Okay, all right.
I know she wants to dance. Okay. Or like if you're 40th, there was a lady coming down the aisle. She was just motioning every guy to come out. Nobody came out. So I had to go out to do the honors. So she was a nuclear reactor, wasn't she?
She was. Well, but she met her match in you.
I know it. And we were total strangers.
Yeah.
I'd never seen her. She'd never seen me. Yeah. And we just lit each other on fire. Yeah. At the end, she just said, "You are amazing." But it was mutual. It was a really good dance. Well, when you got 800 people and you're total strangers,
that's
and
right.
you do 3 fast rock and roll songs to Harry Havery, you got your stuff together.
Well, I'll tell you what, from our vantage point, we're up there entertaining 800 people, but then we're getting entertained by you while we're entertaining them. So you add a little spice to our show just by us being able to watch you guys carry on.
And I wasn't even going to go to that concert because you gave me a comp ticket.
Well, that's because you would have had to pay, God forbid.
And I wasn't going to dance. I was not going to dance. I didn't come with any intention to dance. But then this woman comes down the aisle, and it's just everything excites you. This woman must dance, and I must be the one to dance with.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, she was a terrific. And I know where she lives. Yeah, I don't know her name.
Uh-oh.
But she did tell me where she lives. So I got the exact bearing. I got the coordinates. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Tell me
well, there was more to that little dance.
Be something.
If she told you where she lived, did you follow up on that?
Well, I haven't found. I know where she lives.
Okay.
If you get in a pinch.
Okay.
If I need a dance partner, I know where to go.
All right, fair enough.
I know she can dance.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Listen, we have something in common. We have a lot in common, but one thing we really have in common is a great love for the Beatles. Now, tell me about your first experience with Beatles music. Tell me about whatever got you into them.
It was back in '64.
Was it Ed Sullivan?
Well, everybody watched
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, it was great. It just transformed everything. Yeah. But I was in high school, so that was our music. It really transformed our high school. Mm-hmm. Even my brother, who's like 4 or 5 years behind, he graduated in '61. I graduated in '65, and just the difference between the two of us, just because of the Beatles.
I'm just moving this camera. You keep talking about the Beatles.
Yeah. But anyhow, another reason I want to tell you how I learned to dance.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah,
Tell me.
yeah. This is way back. They're getting farm country.
Yep.
My dad worked hard all week, but on Saturday night, the only entertainment we had, and there again it was free, was on top of the fire department was a dance hall.
Okay.
And this was in most of up there in upstate New York, you got a lot of fire departments.
Sure.
And they have parades in the summer, and all the men get drunk.
Okay.
And during the winter, they have dances. They have a band, and they have draft beer.
Uh-huh.
It's always on the second floor at the fire department. It's a dance hall.
Okay.
So we go there, and that's our entertainment. We got a band and beer. And the kids can drink beer. You can get as much beer as you want.
Really?
Cigarettes were downstairs in the vending machine.
Yep.
We got them for a quarter.
Yep.
And we'd always buy them and smoke them. No, the parents let us, everybody could drink beer as long as you danced.
Gotcha.
So that's where I learned to dance. Wow. I taught all my nieces and nephews how to dance.
I'll be darned. And who
all
taught
very
you?
good.
You just learned on the dance floor.
No, and when I taught the nieces and nephews, it was always in the parlor. On a Sunday afternoon,
Yep.
we'd go visit my sisters and so forth. So all the nieces and nephews, I would teach them in the parlor. We'd go in there, close the door, we'd have a record player, and we'd dance. I'd teach them all how to dance. But the actual learning me to dance was the Saturday night bands at the above the fire department.
Wow.
And it was wild because everybody drank beer, and it was free.
Did any of the bands that played for you in the fire department, did any of them go on to become anything famous or anything?
They're just all local.
Just local people?
In fact, the bands were pretty much brought in from the farms.
So how old were you at that point?
Oh, very young.
So
I was smoking cigarettes at 5 years old for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and drinking beer, probably drinking beer 2 to 3 years old.
No kidding.
They used to put me on a table, my brother and sister, because I was like the youngest.
Yeah.
My mom and dad lost their mates. So they married and had me, but they each had kids. So they used to put me on a table, and they'd each have a bottle of beer on each end of the table, and they'd make me go back and forth between the two bottles.
No.
Drink, yeah. Back in the old
Kidding.
days, we would have all been arrested.
You know, it's a whole different world now. You literally, if you did that today, you would be arrested, 100%.
Yeah, and I don't drink today. I don't drink at all.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't smoke.
Wow.
But back then, I smoked.
When did you quit smoking?
Oh, I just did it as a kid. Just
Okay.
to be a fun thing.
Gotcha.
We'd buy a cigarette, pack of cigarettes. You thought you were big.
That's
We'd
kinda-
smoke them at the fire department.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We'd go outside.
That's
The
funny.
parents, they just on a Saturday night, you could do anything.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, good, clean entertainment.
What about you're you're drinking beer, you're smoking cigarettes, you're out dancing, you're gallivanting with the ladies. Did that were you fooling around with a bunch of girls at a young age too?
Well, we used to go out drinking. I will say that we used to go drinking in a car.
Yeah.
We'd get beer, and we'd go just drive around the square, drinking beer and talking on Friday night.
Yeah.
Be 5 or 6 guys in the car. We'd all be drinking beer until the beer was gone, and then we'd go home.
And
But we drove around the square because it was safe. It was out in the country.
yeah.
So we weren't going to kill anybody. Nobody was going to kill us.
Right.
When the beer was gone, we'd go home.
And cops not around, didn't
Yeah, it was out
care.
in the middle of the
Nobody
country.
just didn't.
Just, you might have had a deputy every so often. Not with us, though. If you're way out in the country, they don't bother you.
Man, that is like the definition of small town, rural.
Yeah, we worked hard. I
school.
tell you, we worked hard.
Yeah, I'll bet.
That's one thing. We worked hard. So come Saturday night, if you went out and had some beer or you went dancing, that was your fun. But you worked hard 6 days a week.
Yeah. Whatever came of the family farm?
My dad actually sold that farm in 1960. So I don't know, I was probably in 8th grade or something like that. 5 more years to graduation. So I moved into the town. My dad started working for the Public Works in Newark, New York. He'd do the snow plowing in the winter. He'd take care of the parks in the summer. But I actually moved into the village. That's where I got with my Beatles people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll bet you weren't too upset that you didn't have to shovel a crap anymore.
Yeah, it was nice getting on. It was a great upbringing.
Yeah.
If you're raised on a farm, you're ready for life.
Oh, yeah.
You're prepared to do anything easily. Even like when I went in the Army, I was a young kid, 17, and I was drafted. And so I had no idea what the Army was all about. But you go in and you meet a lot of people, and you're in for 2 years. So you meet people from all over from the country, everywhere. So it's very exciting. You learn a lot, and you learn about rank, and you learn about people who can tell you what to do,
Yeah.
and you better do it.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot in the Army. I really did. I became an orthopedic technician. What happened is I went to Fort Benning for my basic, and then from there I went to Fort Polk for my advanced infantry training. And then I was supposed to do armored personnel carriers. But I broke my ankle in the 6th week of advanced infantry training in Fort Polk. So I went in the hospital in Fort Polk, Louisiana. It was an emergency thing. And my ankle was really fractured and dislocated real bad. So they had to operate on it. They put a screw in. But the screw was too long. So it went into the joint and it became infected.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the hospital probably 6 months. So in the Army, when you're in the hospital, they put you to work. They'd wheel me down to the orthopedic clinic, and I would be in my hospital garb, and I would answer the phones for the orthopedic clinic. I would make appointments for all the soldiers that needed to be treated. And at that time, it was during Vietnam. So we get, after I did until I got better, what they did is they actually took the screw back out, and it was too long. So then my ankle healed. The infection went away, so it healed. And then they said, well, we've had you here for 6 months. We're going to train you to be an orthopedic technician. We're going to give you on-the-job training. You're not going to go to Vietnam. You're going to stay here. You're going to treat soldiers coming back from Vietnam.
Wow.
So I actually learned to cut off casts and put on new ones. So we'd get all the soldiers coming back from Vietnam with really bad infections and amputations, you name it. We had it all. But from morning to night, we'd cut off casts. It was a cast room, and many people working. We'd cut off casts, and then we'd put on a new one. We'd clean out the infection. A lot of them had maggots. If they had maggots, it would really keep the wound pretty clean.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Oh,
the maggots were a godsend.
No, wow. I never would have guessed
we worked. I've got lots of pictures of amputations, and so we saw it all. So it wasn't a pretty war.
Oh, no, well, no.
On our end. But I had great duty there because it was air conditioned. The clinic was air conditioned. With the mess hall was totally civilian.
Yep.
They did all the cooking, so I didn't have KP. So the mess hall was air conditioned. We had air conditioned barracks. Where I worked was air conditioned. And then get this, I worked in the library on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, which was also air conditioned.
Wow.
And nobody in the military ever went to the library. So I had the place to myself. So I could play music, air conditioning. I could read books, magazines. Nobody would ever come in the library.
I'll be darned.
So it was like a paid weekend.
Yeah.
The way I like it. Air
Fantastic.
conditioning, music,
Yeah.
playing Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Am I okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So it was a lot of fun. So I never went on leave because I stayed there at Fort Polk. So I actually got out with only 22 months because you get a month every year of vacation.
Yep.
So at the end, I got out, my 2 years, I got out 22 months.
Wow.
And then I had a GI Bill. See, I could go to the college.
Yes.
So I got my bachelor's from RIT in business administration. And that's why I got into the business. I had a Montgomery Ward catalog store up near Buffalo.
Yep.
And there again, it was a bad blizzard in '77 and killed 28 people, froze in their cars.
Yeah.
And we lived 5 miles out of town. And we got 4 miles. The storm hit at noon on a Saturday. We were working the store, me and the wife and the 2 kids. And there's a grocery store across the street. And I told the wife, because they hit at noon, by 2 o'clock, I said, we better get home. I said, you can't see the grocery store across the street. And we knew blizzards like we know hurricanes down here.
Yeah.
But it was the storm of the century.
Yeah.
So we left the store at 2 o'clock. We lived 5 miles out of town. We got 4 miles out of town. I had a pickup truck because I delivered appliances from my store. She had the car. We each had a kid. We get to this farmhouse on the corner of my road. I had 1 more mile to be home. And both vehicles were completely covered, just buried. You couldn't even see them anymore. So I get out of my car, and there's a farmhouse on the corner. I'm all the way around the windows knocking, hoping somebody let us in. Because if we had to walk the final mile home, we would have been dead.
Yeah, for sure.
You couldn't walk in. It was so deep.
Yeah.
And it was coming sideways, the snow, and so cold.
With 2 kids.
Yeah, we had 2 kids. So anyhow, they finally opened up. And 35 people spent 2 nights in that farmhouse.
No
All our
kidding.
cars were buried. And we never lost power. And we had heat.
Wow.
And we had money. And we had snowmobile. So the little grocery store that was across the street from my store stayed open. They never left. So we sent in our pooled money on the snowmobile. So we had food, we had heat, we had TV, so we knew what was going on with the storm. But it was a lake effect storm, but it was the blizzard of the century. And the people have written about that. It's a very. I would if that farmhouse hadn't been there. Trust me, I would not be here today.
Yeah.
And that's why I sold that store immediately.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to Florida because that storm will kill you.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. I'm just curious, did you know who the people were in the farmhouse? Did you ever keep up with them?
No, I came by there every day, going to work.
Yeah.
There again, it was my road.
Yeah, sure.
But I never stopped or sat or wait. They were just never out. But yeah, we loved them to death. All 35 of us.
Oh, well, yeah.
We were all total strangers.
Imagine
we
that.
just slept wall to wall. People were everywhere. We're just happy to have heat in a house and not be out in that storm, because that storm was, you'll never forget that storm.
Can you imagine from the viewpoint of the people in the house? There's a knock on the door, and there's a couple people, and then there's another knock, and there's more, and another knock. And what are we going to do with all these people? We can't turn them away.
And they were perfect.
What a
story.
story.
We all had to use the toilet.
Yeah.
It was, you were just so happy to be in that house.
Oh, yeah.
You'd do whatever.
Absolutely.
I'll never forget that house.
Yeah.
Never forget the people.
Remarkable.
When it was the 2 best days of my life.
Wow.
It was the closest to death.
Yeah. Yeah, and what a turning point for you to make that decision to move.
And I had a very successful store. And it was a good thing I sold it, because Montgomery Ward went bankrupt several years after.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Kmart and Sears,
that's right.
J.C. Penney's, they all went down.
Yeah.
But I would have lost everything. But see, it was a franchise, so I owned it. It was like a catalog store, like Sears catalog here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually called DeWind Sales Agency. So I actually sold that to a Chinese couple.
Oh, no kidding.
Down here, and the money I got from that, I started Food for Thought in Avon Park.
I'll be darned.
On South Lake Avenue. Yeah. There's a little church in there right now. Jimmy's Flourish used to be in there. But yeah, we were Avon Park people. And there again, when my wife ran the store during the day, I actually taught at Avon Park Correctional in Avon Park, out there at the old bombing range.
Oh, yeah.
We had the old prison and the new prison. I actually taught in the new prison. The new prison had a school. It's all air conditioned. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the inmates would come to us just to be in the air conditioning.
Sure.
And they always made buck back then. Buck is like a prison hooch or booze. Yep. And they would make it out of any kind of fruit, mangoes, whatever. You never want to eat the ham in a prison.
Oh, really?
No, because the inmates, you know what they do with the ham.
I don't know what they do with the ham.
You don't want to know.
Okay, then I don't want to know.
But don't ever eat the ham. I never ate in the prison cafeteria.
You can tell me off air.
Yeah.
I know a lot of quirky things, but I don't know about that.
The hooch, I might want to try that. They called it buck, but they always called it buck. But there was a guy who kind of checked the inmates in and out into our school, and he would bring them mangoes.
Yeah.
And they would actually make booze.
I'll be darned.
From the mangoes.
I guess the guards turned the other cheek, maybe, and maybe to get some of it. Who knows?
It's like a society.
Yeah, for sure. They have their own set of rules, I suppose.
Yeah, and you better know how to run by the rules.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. And then to be a teacher there, you actually have to be a guard for 3 nights.
Really?
Yeah, they make you be a guard just so you know how it works.
Yep.
And the prison itself is kind of you wouldn't want to be in there. That's why I guess they have us do it, because it's pretty crazy in there. They're shouting and doing stuff at night that it's pretty horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't doubt
They have the National Guard running a lot of the prisons in Florida right now.
I didn't know that.
They can't get enough employees.
Wow. Well, aren't they mostly privately run now?
Well, there could be some, but a lot of them are still owned by the state, because that's how they bring in the National Guard.
I guess so, yeah. You wouldn't bring in the National Guard for privately run business. Yeah, that's true. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. You like all types of music. Do you have a favorite genre? Do you have a favorite genre of
Well, I still like the Beatles.
Yeah,
best.
They're just your top.
I knew the old Harry Havery. He just did the biggest night Harry Havery ever had of his career. For me, I've seen the 40th, but the biggest night for me was after COVID ended. It was over at Fireman's Field.
Oh yeah,
he was playing for hours. I think he played 4 hours that night.
Could be.
It was after COVID, and people had been locked up for so long. And finally, they were out at the Fireman's Field, and he played a long time, and the mass of dancers was imaginable. And of course, Harry would always call on me to do the conga line.
Of course.
So he'd put me up at the very front, and I had to do the conga line. So that was always exciting. But the biggest night was at the Fireman's Field after COVID.
Yeah.
because people were so excited to be alive
Yeah.
and dance, and it was a beautiful night. The air was perfect.
Yep.
And it was exciting to see all the old people dance. Everybody danced.
That's right.
It was just a fire, and you were on fire. The thing about Harry, he never takes a break. He can play for 4 hours.
Hey.
He will not take a break.
I just enjoy what I do.
You do,
Yeah.
and it shows.
I really do.
Nobody will ever replace Harry.
Well,
And how about that Circle Theater, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a run. See, there again, that was after COVID.
I loved it. I
So
loved
it was
that job.
perfect for everybody.
That was
We just were dying. See, for me, I was an old guy. So for COVID, I just stayed home. You know, the governor sent us 14 frozen meals a week.
really.
Yeah, he didn't want us to go to the grocery store. You know, he also sent me 2 dogs and 2 cats. Did you know that?
I did not know
He
that.
wanted the old people to stay home. So he sent them. He sent them to me. I think it was FedEx or UPS, one of them. I got 2 dogs and 2 cats. Sent them right to my house.
Wait a minute.
That's the truth. Got
Live
them home still.
live dogs and
Nope, they were stuffed.
Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute.
They
here.
had batteries. They actually barked. They meowed.
I'll be
Tails
darned.
moved. Their heads moved. It was unreal.
Wow.
I still got them to this day. When I'm an old guy going in that nursing home, hitting my 100, I'm going to have those 2 dogs and 2 cats. Trust me, I'm prepared.
I don't know, but what happens? What happens if their batteries run out and you have to
I took
pay
the
for
I
batteries?
kept the batteries fresh. It's kind of like my soup.
Okay.
Keep the meat separate from
Okay.
the vegetable.
Okay. Fair enough.
But see, when you get older, you got to prepare.
Yeah.
It's like when COVID hit and we had to stay home, although, a year and a half we stayed home. So I really stockpiled, if you could get some free food or whatever, I'd put it in that one bedroom because you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, it's true.
So I got rice and beans still from COVID. and I'm not getting rid of them because we had to live on our own for a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's why I had the Beatles.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Beatle? Do you have one?
I like them. No, well, of course, Paul McCartney.
Okay.
For me, that's the individual one. But I like all the songs. I like all the guys. But you performed really well for a long time with the Beatles.
Well, thanks.
You've
They're
gotten
my
into a lot of
favorites.
other genres now.
Well, I've had to.
Yeah, but in the old days, you were doing Harper Valley PTA.
Oh yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
who would have ever thought?
Well, I do a lot of classic country because I had to do a classic
But
country
there's one
cruise in New
song
York.
that you won't do for me, and I'm really upset about it. It's called "The Dance" by
Garth Brooks. Yeah.
There's one other song, Ave Maria.
But Ave Maria requires a vocalist.
Yeah,
That's a real
My
song.
son-in-law does that on his own very well.
Yeah.
And I've seen just karaoke ladies do Garth Brooks do very well.
Well,
So I think you could do both.
I could do the Garth Brooks song, but
I think you could.
I could. I only do one Garth Brooks song. I don't know why I have a thing against Garth Brooks. I'm sure he's a
Dance,
very nice
that's
guy.
kind of a
but
classic song.
it is, and I got
a
to
belly rubber right there.
I got to tip my hat to Garth Brooks. I'm not
right.
his
I'd
music
say
didn't
one
hit
thing,
me.
a great venue that you've had is the Lake Placid Farmers Market.
Oh, I love playing there.
It's a fun play. In fact, I was there this last Saturday for the Highlands Silks.
Yes.
Yeah. The guy that owns the Wet Dogs.
Yeah, Michael.
Brewing,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
the wife owns the winery.
That's right.
Yeah. She was like a physical therapist
Yes.
in her real life. And he used to work for the state.
Yep.
He got bored with it.
Yeah, imagine that. And they're running 2 very successful businesses down
Very
there.
successful. And they love what they're doing.
And they're in that band, which is so cool. And they played at Gavigan's
Yeah.
for the Irish Festival yesterday. They play every Monday at Gavigan's.
They went to Ireland.
Yes.
The band.
Oh, yeah. They're serious about it. Yeah. Yeah. Very,
Yeah,
very
they're
cool.
original.
Yeah.
Even the Wet Dog Brewing, he's got dogs at home.
That's right.
And they would go out, I guess they live on the lake. They'd go off the dock and come in wet. And he liked brewing beer. He used to brew beer at home.
That's right.
That's how he got into brewing his own beer. He still, that brewery, he makes most of his beer himself.
That's right. What a cool setup they have down there. The way the whole Lake Placid Journal Plaza.
He's in
is
love
set
with
up.
that one. His wife. Oh, he would. If anybody ever flirted with her, I swear. How about the last lady I danced with?
Yeah, you about got killed, didn't you?
Did you notice that?
I didn't.
I said, what the hell is this all about? And then I thought about it. It was his girl, the one all in black.
Yes.
She was a good dancer.
Yeah.
And see, she was coming up to give you the lost credit card.
Yes.
So she was on the edge of the dance floor, and I thought she wanted to dance.
Right.
I didn't know about the credit card. So I motioned to her. I said, you want to dance? She says, she didn't know what I was doing. So anyhow, we get out there and dance, and she's got this credit card. She's handing me, put it in your pocket. So we dance, and she was really good. But she must have went and told her husband. And man, he was lit, wasn't he? After the 3 hours are over, he was coming after.
See, now, what, he wasn't the guy that was like in a hat, and he was kind of.
Yeah, he was weird. He was mocking me, and he's Jerry this and Jerry that, and he was her husband, her boyfriend.
Okay, so that's what that was
I think
all
she
about.
was a biker. She's all in black.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to dance with her, and she wanted to turn in their credit card. And I think when she went back to him, she explained that this guy danced with her. And it was me.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that approached you towards the end, and he was very animated and kind of looked a little bit out of it.
He wanted to pick a fight.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, I'm an old Sebring High teacher. You just shut up.
Yeah.
When there's a fight, you don't say a word.
Yeah.
You let them rant.
Well, I was watching. I had my eyes.
Yeah, I could tell you
I had
knew.
my eyes peeled on that.
Yeah, it was,
so
I knew there was something going on.
if there was.
But I didn't think about it until later. I said, uh-oh, that woman I danced with, that's her boyfriend.
Okay.
Because normally I read the room.
Yeah.
If they got a rain on, I don't dance.
That's right.
Leave it alone. But she was just there on the edge of the floor to give you that card.
Yes.
And so I said, well, she must want to dance. And we did dance, and she was good. You know how I can tell when somebody's good? Everybody takes out their cell phone.
That's right. That's 100% right.
That's 100% right.
Yeah.
And some of those people, the same day with a different lady, she had her wedding ring on. I said, would your husband mind if I dance with you? And she said, no, I want to get a record. I want to show my kids that I can dance. So she said, wait a minute, I'll get my daughter over. So her daughter had the camera, the phone, and she took pictures of everything. And they gave her a kiss on this cheek and a kiss on this cheek. And then we had the Dutch kiss. You know what the Dutch kiss?
Yes.
You lean in. So she got it all on tape.
That's great.
A lot of those ladies, it's their last dance, their last kiss. Some of those ladies are pretty old.
That is something that's been really sticking with me over the last few months. It's the last, and then fill in the blank. When my kids were little, and we had the swimming pool, and when they were real little, they would get on my shoulders in the middle of the pool, and I would go underwater and then throw them up in the air. And I never realized that one of those times would be the last time I would ever do that. And now it's the same thing with basketball. I tried to play basketball with my oldest son, and then Harrison, too, has been playing, and Jordan has been playing. And one of these days, it will be the last time that I've ever played basketball with one of them. And that is a very sobering thought. So when you say it could be one of those ladies' last dance, that's a very sobering thought.
Well, I go to a lot of memorials. I probably go to over 100 a year.
Yeah.
And I saw Rich Bozeman's father. Do you remember Rich Bozeman?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
And
Rich
his
Bozeman
dad,
died.
and his mom and his sister, yeah.
Yeah. And Rich Bozeman's, I think he died maybe 5 years ago.
Give or take.
And he had pancreatic cancer, terrible cancer. And I mean, he was just really gaunt.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, I saw the father at a memorial at Bible Fellowship.
Yep.
And he had a picture of his son on his phone. And he showed me that. And you could just see he was really deteriorating. I said, wow. So I asked him how old he was at that time, and I think he said 82. Mm-hmm. And there was a bunch of school board retired people at that thing. It might have been Harry Rodney's memorial.
Yeah.
So anyhow, there was a bunch of us there. So sure enough, he died, the father, maybe a month or two ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died. Yep.
He
was living with his daughter in Lake Placid.
I saw him around Christmas time.
Yeah. So I go through my Sebring News paper pretty close. So I cut out the obituary. Yeah. I think he was 83, if I remember right.
I had no idea. I saw him at Christmas, and I don't think.
So when you talk about the last time, there again, I saw him at the memorial, and because when we were growing up, his kids and my kids, we'd go to somewhere, because he was a scout guy, and my girls
that's right.
were Brownies and Girl Scouts and all that, and he had a daughter.
Yep.
So we'd always go together, the parents and the kids. So I said, do you remember me? This was at that memorial. And he said, no, I don't remember you. So, when you get older, you forget a lot of things. But anyhow, then he died because he was kind of an inspiration to me. Because he thinned down. One time he was pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah.
But he, as you get older, I think when you hit that 80 mark, if you want to keep going on, you got to slim down. Mm-hmm. You can't be the old eat all you want.
Right. And he did slim down.
He did.
And he was looking really good there.
And he was an inspiration to me for that.
Yeah.
I wanted to slim down. If I want to be 82, I'm going to have to take it down because I'm 77.5.
Yes.
So I'm getting closer to that 80 mark.
That's right.
You got to slim down.
Yeah. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Tell our listeners and our viewers about your regimen, because you've told me about it a million times, about you're out in your backyard in the sand, barefoot, waving your arms.
One thing, I'm a circadian guy. So I'm in bed at 9 o'clock every night. That's why I go out to the night bars and all that. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and I get up at 5:30 without an alarm clock. I wake up every morning at 5:30. I have my black coffee, watch my Fox News. Then I have a second cup of coffee. And then depending upon the time of year, if it's summer, I get out for my walk before 7 o'clock. Try to get in when it's 7 o'clock. Because I do an hour walk, and I do it barefoot. And I do it, most of it backwards. I walk backwards. If you walk backwards, it really helps the knees. But
in your backyard?
Yeah, in my backyard. And barefoot.
For an hour?
Yeah, an hour. And you can ask my neighbor, Michael Stevenson, who you've met. He just moved here from Kentucky. He'll verify that I walk every day, even in a hurricane. If the rain's coming south, I'm still out there. I wear just a pair of shorts, but I am barefoot. And I wash my feet before I go in the house. But I walk, I've got trails, and I'll walk forward. I go barefoot in the sand. A lot of it's sand. So the sand is really kind of like a chiropractor.
Yeah.
It jostles you around enough that I have a lot of arthritis. I do have a disability from the Army, and normally I get up every morning with arthritis. But I go out in that backyard barefoot in the sand, and I come back in, I have no arthritis.
Wow.
It's gone for the day. Now, the next morning, I got it again. But if you go out for one day and get in that sand, it takes away all the negative ions. So you really do feel a lot better.
Yeah, you're
outside.
You're grounding, too.
Yeah, that's what they call grounding.
Yeah.
It actually draws the negative ions out of your body. So you do feel much better.
Yep.
But I've never had a problem with ants or anything like that. You know? And I've walked that way for many years. Sure. Even when I was at Sebring High, you had bus duty.
Yep.
I would walk the whole time I had bus duty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't barefoot, but I did walk.
Right. What about RFK and all the changes that he's proposing? What do you think about all that?
Well, he's got some good ideas. It's like anything, like health food store or whatever. I think you have to study what's good for you. There are certain things for me, like I told you about my senior soup.
Yes.
The things I've got, in fact, I'll give you the recipe before I die, I promise.
Okay, deal.
But there's things in that soup that just really anti-inflammatory, are going to make you live longer. And you're not going to, there's people, when they advertise all these drugs on TV, I'm 77, but I have no prescriptions, none.
Yeah.
And I go to the VA here in Sebring. I love the doctor. I had good doctors the whole time I've been with the VA. And they say I have no prescriptions. They say everything is good. I have no health problems. There's nothing they're concerned about. They think I will live to 100.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Beatles songs at your funeral.
Yeah.
Three of them. You know how I know that? Because you tell me every time I see you.
Norwegian Wood. And then
Norwegian Wood.
The other two.
Well, I'm going to surprise you.
Yeah. But that Norwegian Wood's a very pretty song.
That's your favorite dance song.
Yeah. Well, you saw what I do with those women.
I know.
When Norwegian Wood comes on, they are mine.
Those women don't have any idea what's about to happen.
I've danced with all types. I've danced with superb dancers, and I've danced with ladies that are drunk.
Yeah.
I've danced with ladies that have MS or whatever, very bad. I remembered, I probably shouldn't say the name, but Jim Howard's first wife, who was at the Circle Theater. I think her name was Suzette. And I knew her for many years, nice lady. We taught together at Sebring High.
That's right.
So I asked her to dance at your theater, and I didn't realize that apparently she had some chronic disease, but she could hardly stand up. So we danced, and I tried to be real careful with her, but she finally whispered in my ear, she says, "You can twirl me." So I took her around, did the twirl. But she had some chronic illness, that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what happens. You've seen me dance with ladies with canes.
Oh, absolutely.
They'll get through one dance, and, sometimes maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So when you say about the last, sometimes it might be the last dance. I know some of those ladies at Lake Placid, when they tape them, when their friends tape them, and you can hardly get them to turn around. Yeah. You got to hold them up as you turn them around. I know that's their last dance. And when I kiss them on the cheeks, I know that's their last kiss, and they love it, and it's all on tape. And they can go show their grandkids or their friends. You say, "Look at me." They feel young that they could do that.
That's cool.
And they are very good. Most of them you can hold up, but the drunks down there where they had this last thing you played out in the circle, I don't know. You could drink all you wanted. Oh man, that woman I danced, she was so drunk. Don't fall, don't fall.
I got to tell a story about my friend Jerry. Several years ago, chili cook-off, the Crazy Pepper chili cook-off. And this is probably 7 or 8 years ago now. They have the hot dog eating contest. And lo and behold, well, there's Jerry up there in the hot dog eating contest with all these kids and all these, big guys, very serious. Jerry kind of sits behind the table. And when they say, on your mark, get set, go, everybody is just tearing into their hot dogs, going crazy. You got a knife and fork, and you're eating your hot dogs a bite at a time, watching everybody. Everybody is woofing these things down. And I'm like, look at this. Look at Jerry. Look at him. And then it occurred to me, you just wanted a free meal.
Free meal, no carbs. I didn't eat the rolls.
And
just the protein.
And you won your age division.
That's true. See, so you never know. That's one thing about getting old. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah.
So just keep your chin up. Yeah. One thing when I go dancing, I always watch the radar. You got to see what's going on. Yeah. And then once you see the radar, you got to act on it. Mm-hmm. So, I always read the room, the dance floor.
You read the dance floor, I know that, but I also appreciate how you read the dancer so often too. And you're always thoughtful, and you're able to tell what a partner can do and what they can't do. Yeah. And when you sense that they're okay and they're good and they're all right, then
we're on fire.
That's when you start taking things to another level. Yeah. That's when the spins and the twists start coming out.
If you get a good dance, you know who's very good is Nancy Dale.
Oh yeah.
Now we were supposed to have at your theater. We had Dr. Cunliffe. He was already paid you. He wanted to pay you $400. We were going to have our night of Nancy Dale night, all about her life.
I was so excited about that.
Now that'd be an interesting lady to bring in here. It'd
be a great podcast.
Because she was an original hippie.
Yes.
In the Haight-Ashbury of San Francisco.
That's right.
She graduated from high school here in Miami.
Yep.
And went out there when it first started. She was a hippie back in the early 60s. Mm-hmm. And get this, she was a newscaster on TV.
Yes.
She was the weather lady, and she wasn't a meteorologist. Yep. They'd give her a teletype, and she had a pretty face. She was cute then. She's cute now. Mm-hmm. And she would read the weather on TV as an untrained meteorologist. Yeah. And that's how they did it back then. And she lived in Francis Ford Coppola's home.
Amazing.
And there was 100 other people, hippies,
that
all lived. But he owned that home in the Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
And he let 100 hippies live in there.
Maybe that's something.
And she had a wonderful life there. She loved it.
She was on the cutting edge of the whole UFO phenomenon, too.
Yeah. She did many videos.
Yeah,
she was
right.
on TV with the UFOs. And then she went to Texas. She was a border lady. This was back in the early 60s, 70s, mm-hmm. whatever. And she wrote books on the border crisis, what it was doing to the ranchers.
Yep.
And then she comes to Florida, and she writes 6 books on the Florida cowboy, the crackers.
Yeah, that's right.
And she had a boyfriend. He just died. Mm-hmm. So I still got my chance, Harry. She was boyfriends with a cracker for, I think, over 20 years. Great people. And they used to go sell their books on the weekends. Yep. In fact, they sold them at the Circle Theater. I finally got my dance with her on the Circle Theater stage.
You did.
With no music.
Yes.
Because she was selling her books probably less than a year ago. They had I think it was last summer. They had some kind of thing with vendors, and she was selling her books on the stage. Mm-hmm. So I said, Nancy, would you mind dancing with me like we were supposed to have done that night, the Nancy, because that was going to be the final part of Nancy Dale night. We were going to dance. What was the name of that song?
Time of My Life.
Time of My Life. Yeah. And she was going to be in a white ballet dress, and I was going to be Gerard, dressed up the best I could. But together, now, her and me are really something else to dance. Because she's a yoga teacher.
That's right.
She wrote Yoga for Life. It's in the New Sun every Wednesday. Has been for as long as I've been here.
Yeah.
She's had a column in that paper.
That's right.
So anyhow, she is trim. She's 80.
Yep.
But she can dance like nobody else. She's so limber.
Yes.
So anything you can go up, down, she's with you.
Yes.
She can follow any man, and you can lead her.
Yes.
She's a perfect dancer.
You know, we had a meeting, the two of us, leading up to Nancy Dale night, and the meeting was fantastic. I was fascinated. You know, the material that she brought to show me was remarkable, and it was going to be a really interesting night. And then the board made the decision to close it down, and we never got to do it.
I remember.
It was a bummer. It was a real bummer.
But she's an interesting person.
Yes, she is. She really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. What's next for Twinkle Toes DeWind? What's on your radar?
Well, there again, I go to everything in the county. If it's in the newspaper, I cut it out and go. Like I say, I just went to Assembly Church. They just bought the new church just north of Wawa, going to Avon Park in 27.
Yep.
And it was at 10 a.m. I got there at 9:30. So I had the front row center seat. So it was a 2-hour service. And they're an altar church.
Yep.
Like they bring the whole congregation up on the altar.
Sure.
And they're really up there praising God, and the minister is really lit up. So it's really, you know, I go to everything like that, anything exciting. I'll go to any church for any activity. A lot of people don't understand that. They say, why do you go to all these churches? Well, I learned so much. For one thing, they're all nice to me. I've been to most churches in this county, even the black churches.
Yes.
Yeah, Praise Temple in Avon Park.
Yeah.
I repost all the services on Sunday morning on Facebook, all the local churches. And they think I'm going there. I'm watching. Pastor DeGennaro at the Methodist Church, St. John's, up by Walmart. He thinks I actually watch all those. I just repost them. But I repost all the services because I like all the churches. And I go to all the churches. They know me by heart.
Catholic.
I go to all the concerts, anybody that's singing in there, I'm at that.
Were you Catholic to start off?
Yes.
You were Catholic. I mean, you've been.
I
once a Catholic, always a Catholic.
I went to St. Catherine's, and you were doing the folk mass.
I remember.
Yeah, and Our Lady of Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to all 3 churches. See, I married an ex-nun.
Yes.
My first wife and only wife was in the convent 4 years. She was ready to take her final vows, and she didn't. She left. So she moved in the apartment house that I was in. I was in the basement, had a roommate guy, and up above was her and this other girl who left the convent at the same time. So this was back in the 60s, and it was just a fun period. Everybody kind of had fun doing things. So anyhow, she was on the first floor, I was on the basement. So I got to know her, and we got married. And anyhow, I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
But we moved down here, and there again, most of our customers were Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes.
So they invited her to a kind of like what do you call it? Like when you have a revival.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like a revival, and they still do them. Yeah. They do it for like a whole week, and they invited her to that, and she went. And she had what they call an abreactive religious experience. She immediately put down her old beliefs and took on the new beliefs. So she became an Adventist like that. Yeah. And at that time, if the husband didn't convert, he was under the influence of Satan. Oh, yeah. So that's what caused our divorce. She actually divorced me because I wouldn't convert to the Seventh-day Adventist. And they're going to have a lot of friends that are Seventh-day Adventist. I go to their church on occasion. I go to all their musical events. Yep. I've taken classes at Walker Memorial School because of the doctors there, like Dr. Roquise. He actually teaches classes right there at the Walker Memorial High School. You can go there at night. I took a class on the brain. I think I even shared some of that with you at that time. Yeah. Because he had a lot of different things that you could eat that were supposed to be good for the brain, and some things that weren't good. Right. Like omega-3s. Yes. He's big on omega-3s. That's why I always told you to eat your omega-3s. Yes. But I got it right from the source, Dr. Roquise. So I know a lot of the Adventists, great people, and they run the Adventist health system. They got all the great hospitals. They have great seminars on eating and so forth. In fact, I just went to one. There again, you wonder what I do. I just went to one in Avon Park. It was at a church. And Nancy and Barney Mise. Oh, yeah. Okay, they were the entertainment for 1 hour. And then I went over with them, and they had a class. It was a chef. He actually cooked the meal for us, showed us how to do it healthy. And then they served us at our seats. So you actually got a concert and a meal for a contribution. Nice. Yeah.
Very, very nice.
So I go to anything like that, I go to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do in my old age, is keep doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Here's one for you. You can pick one dance partner for one song. It can be anybody of your choosing. One song, one dance. Who is your ultimate
It's
dance
Nancy
partner?
Dale.
Really?
Time of your life.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I've already emailed her. You know, she just lost her man.
Yeah?
I've emailed her, so I'm on her waiting list.
Really?
Yeah, I would definitely take Nancy out.
Over anybody?
Anybody.
Well, that is...
For one thing,
wow.
she's a really... I've taken her yoga class.
Uh-huh.
I went to Dr. Cunliffe. It's a free class.
Yeah.
It's still up there. The lady still works at 80. Yeah. I think she teaches 4 classes a week of yoga. Mm-hmm. And she's just an amazing... She's in shape.
Yeah.
So she can do it. And she's a sweet lady, and she's very pretty. For 80 years old, she is beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, I run into her.
Yeah, she is a
beautiful
beautiful
when she had her boyfriend, and I liked her boyfriend, and I always respected. But I'd always ask him, I say, can I give her a hug once a year? I'd see him once a year about, because they were out selling their books. I'd say, do you mind if I give Nancy a hug? And he'd say, nope. He was always nice about it. So I always respect, and he'd let me dance with her. Mm-hmm. You know, usually once a year, whatever, I'd see her, you know, out at Secret Gardens or whatever.
Sure.
And anybody, if you ask Barney and Nancy Meese, they tell you her and me are the best dance partner. I always told you that.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we were going to dance at the end of her Nancy Dale night, is because we are magical on the stage dancing. Mm-hmm. We are just like we become one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are good dancers. She's wonderful. You know, I would take her out in a heartbeat. Because we live 1 mile apart.
Oh, boy.
Can you believe that?
You better show her the link to this podcast so that she could...
Oh, I will send it to her. She knows my intentions, but I'm being good. I'm behaving.
Okay, fair enough.
I always treated her right for 20 years. I never strayed.
Yeah.
But she is a beautiful woman. She's going to live to 100. There's a lady's going to live to 100.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt that for a second.
No, me either. I may not, but she will. Because it's the yoga. The yoga she does.
I want you to just start doing something for me, though. You keep saying you're going to live to 100. I want you to start saying at least 100.
Yeah, well, I've told you that. I got my 4 quarters.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go into overtime.
Okay, fair enough.
But if you're into quarters, you've got to realize, for one thing, when you get past the 3rd quarter, when you get into the 4th quarter, you got to start, like I told you, Rich Bozeman. I studied his father when I saw him at that.
Yes.
When I go to memorials, I study people that are still alive. What are they doing? You know, they're still out there, energetic, doing stuff.
Yes.
So you've got to say have a radar up.
That's right.
You got to be ready, but you got to act.
Yes.
Whatever you learn about how to live longer or what somebody else is doing, you've got to do that too. So you have to be proactive.
Yeah.
But I think the circadian thing and having a routine.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I don't mind getting up at 5:30. I don't mind going to bed at 9 because I know I'm Mr. Healthy and I got a routine. I sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
And you know I'm a good dancer.
I know you're a good dancer.
Yeah. And I'm a good conversationist.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been here almost pretty close to an hour, and you've carried the whole thing. I've barely had to say anything.
Yeah, I don't mind talking.
Yeah.
I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, it's true.
And sometimes you got to sell yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm an old salesman from where I used to own a Montgomery Ward, so you had to know how to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm glad you came today. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you for sharing.
Remember, I'm your biggest fan.
I appreciate it.
I do have my badge home. It says #1 fan for your 40th. And who disseminates your newspaper articles?
You're the one.
The most.
You're the one.
If I bring in a stack of the free papers.
You're the guy. You're the guy. It's amazing. You're the best PR guy.
I do that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If they're in the free paper, I normally get them a stack,
Yep.
and I'll give it to them. Like I just did it for Rick Arnold.
Yes.
You know Rick?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And see, he really thought that was the greatest thing.
What a talented guy.
A lot of those people don't get those free papers.
Right.
They don't even know it's in there. So I pick up 40 of them and plop it on the. I don't even go to his stuff. I did go to the one at Sun and Lakes because you played out there.
Yeah.
That's a great venue.
Yep.
You know, it's during the 50th, they did one a month. But people liked it so much, they're going to continue it. So once a month, they have free music at the pavilion.
That's right.
By the rec center.
Yep.
It's from 5 to 7.
Yep.
Normally it was on a Wednesday, but now it's on a Thursday.
Yep.
But there again, that's stuff I do that keeps you young.
Yes.
Because I dance. If I see a lady wants to dance, I dance. If she's moving around, when you performed out there were two girls from upstate New York.
That's right.
And they had heavy coats on.
Yes.
And I danced with both of them.
Yeah, you did.
And it was a cold day, rainy day.
And it was all Christmas stuff, too.
Yeah,
and you found Christmas songs.
And I danced I loved it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's great.
It's cool.
They were almost as good as Nancy Dale. But she is a pretty lady. You better watch me with her.
My man.
I'm trying to behave. She is a temptation. I'm gonna click her name. When you post this, I'm going to put Nancy Dale. Send it over. No, she is a sweet lady.
Yeah, she is.
I have the most respect for her.
Yeah.
Because at 80, to still be teaching yoga effectively for a doctor, she had to sell herself to that doctor. Mm-hmm. She didn't get hired the first time out because he pays for all her classes.
Sure.
And it's all free for the patients.
Yep.
But she kept going in there and saying, now he loves her.
Yep.
There again, he was going to put me on the stage with her dancing just because of her.
Yes.
She's that good.
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So she's an inspiration. And writing the Yoga for Life column in the newspaper for the 47 years, I've got every one of them. I've cut every one out.
No kidding.
I've been a fan, kind of like my fan of you.
Well, thanks.
I've known her when she was a young, pretty little thing. Yeah. Now I know her. And, it was funny. I saw her after her man died. I saw her out at the Highlands Hammock, and she was selling her books. Yeah. So I was talking to somebody, and I didn't know he had died. Mm-hmm. So she was all there by herself selling her books. So I didn't think about anything of it. So I saw this other guy. I said, I see her once a year, and she lets me give her a hug. And she said, well, it's time for me to give you a hug. And she gave me a nice hug. Mm-hmm. So, but I didn't know he was dead at that time.
Gotcha.
And it's funny with her, she just lost her son maybe a couple of years before this to alcohol. He was an alcoholic, total drunk. And that's what he died from. And it's funny about Nancy. She don't grieve. Nancy's like the next day she's right at it. Yeah. Kind of like with her man, been around for 20 years. He's gone. Don't matter. She's going to grow out. One thing that's what you learn as you get older. How do other people deal with things? Yeah. She's not going to be moping. Yeah. She's out there selling her books, teaching people how to do yoga. She's still got that zest for life, even though she's 80. Yes. And she's had some trauma. Yeah. She's lost her son. She's lost her mate of 20 years. Yeah. She's got a hard life. She's out there working 4 days a week at 80. Yeah. Because maybe she didn't have as much money as she needed to have. Yeah. No, she needs to work. And that doctor hired her. Yeah. That's the goodness of Highlands County.
That's right.
Highlands County is a perfect place to retire. If you've been here 47 years, like I say, where all the toilets are. But all the good people, too. Yeah. You know how to get to different, the whole county. Yes. So if I'm going someplace, I know how to get there. Well, is it safe for me to do it at my age? I know. But pretty much I know where to go and how to do and the people I'm going to meet, and I feel comfortable. I can go. I remember talking with a Catholic priest one time about, there was a lady priest at the Episcopal Church in Lake Placid. And she's very good. And I used to go to her classes, seminars all the time. So he would say, oh, she can't be a priest, this and that. I said, I've been going to her for years, and trust me, she is a priest. She knows her stuff. She's a beautiful lady. Yeah. She can preach it as good as you. But so there's just a lot of great church. In this county, back when George Sebring was alive, he used to give land free.
That's right.
To any church.
Yes.
That's why we have a Jewish temple here.
That's right.
This was back in the 20s.
That's right.
Trust me, Jewish temples weren't real popular. But he gave a free plot of land to the Jewish people back in the 20s. Yeah. And he's done that for any church. We got Jehovah's Witnesses, we got the Mormons. Yep. Everybody can come to church here.
It's true.
And normally if you go to any church, you're going to learn something from that church. You may not agree with everything, but you're going to meet some people that you're going to learn from because they're positive. Yes. They believe in their faith, and they're going to might be a little bit different in years. Who cares?
That's right. Yeah.
So, it's a beautiful county.
Yeah.
We got great leadership, as far as even the schools. We had great schools, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
My kids went through here and went on to UCF, both graduated. So they're very successful. It's a great county for success. We got that rural part. I think that's a lot of it, is the people believe in work. Yes. When they go to that high school, they listen to your teachers. That's right. Do what they tell you. But I've seen some trauma over the years, education. We lost a lady in Avon Park when I was teaching up there. Her boyfriend and her had a I think it was the parents didn't want the boyfriend seeing the girl. So the boyfriend shot the girl. This was at Avon Park High. And then we lost a couple faculty members at Sebring High.
That's right.
You remember a couple?
Yeah, I do.
So they committed suicide. So it was tough. So anytime you get to 77, you feel good about, well, we got this far. We're in the quarter four. Yes. Now, if you want to go a long ways, you really got to do everything right.
Yeah.
You got to, when you get up, you got to be paying attention to what's going on. Cut out your newspaper, lay out your week, make sure you show up, because you're going to learn something from those people. Those people are going to make you better.
Yeah, that's true.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
There's a lot of good people here.
They
but
really
the best one is who?
Gerard DeWind.
See Dale.
Man, you were really lobbying. You really want that date, don't you?
Yeah, she's a sweet lady.
She really is.
And I would behave. Maybe.
Okay. Jerry?
If I didn't, I wouldn't tell Harry Havery.
Listen, man, you just told everybody.
You got to be. Hey, Harry was an old. He did the Bible when we used to have the faith. We call him the church,
Bible fellowship. When I was.
Well, no, at the Catholic church.
Oh yeah, The
what
guitar
they call
mass.
those services?
The guitar mass.
Yeah, guitar mass. But it's the folk mass.
The folk mass.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Folk mass. So I got to behave. Harry taught me way back.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
I remember now, the first time I met you, really, in the entertainment business besides church, was the Garino's Pizzeria.
Yes, that's right.
And you used to play outside on Friday night. Yep. Your mom and dad were with you. You'd have a little amplifier a guitar.
That's right.
Electric guitar. Yep. And you would play outside for free.
Yep.
And me and my girlfriend, at that time was Barbara.
Yep.
I didn't tell you about Barbara. Barbara Campbell, Barbara Weston, she married Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
And she got pregnant in senior year of high school. So they got married. They had a boy and a girl. And unfortunately, the daughter died probably 5 years ago. She had sepsis. She was in her 30s, very young. But she was married to Jack Campbell. And they're in high school romance. And eventually, they got divorced. And she was working at the school board office. She was a secretary over there. And I used to go over there for meetings. I said, boy, if I ever get a chance, I want to ask that girl out. So it was grad night. Roy Reedy was there. Do you remember Roy Reedy?
Oh, sure I do.
Taught English, smoked like a
chimney. Yeah.
Oh, my God, he smoked. So anyhow, I told Roy, I said, I'd like to chaperone grad night. If you ever get a chance, I'd like to get a chance. So he comes to me on a Thursday morning. He said, I want you to chaperone tomorrow night, but you got to have a date. So I called up Barbara Campbell, and I get her son on the phone, Dale Campbell. And she was out playing softball, kind of like you do.
Yeah.
And so she called me probably back 9:30 at night. She said, what can I do for you? I said, well, listen, I got a chance to be a chaperone for grad night tomorrow night. They no longer do grad night in Florida. So she said, sure. So we went, had a beautiful night, brought her flowers. We danced the whole night. They have bands at grad night. So she gets back the next morning. She tells me, I've been dating the varsity football coach, Greg, I forget his last name, at Sebring High the last 4 years. And I said, no, I didn't know that. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have asked you out. But we had a great night. So she breaks up with him. And I've been dating an Irish woman. And Irish women are really hormonally driven. Irish women are crazy. So this woman about ran me over with a car. I said, I'm breaking up with her. So I just broken up, and she broke up with Greg, this varsity football coach that she'd been dating for 4. He used to throw cats. He'd get if he'd lose football, he'd get emotional. He'd throw the cat against the wall.
Oh, my
She said
word.
He was pretty bad. So she was happy to break up with him too. So then we were together 18 years.
No kidding.
I had 2 girls, and she had a boy and girl, and we both had custody. So she lived in her place. I lived in my place. We didn't want to do the step-parent thing. So for 10 years, she had her 2 kids. I had my 2 kids, separate residences. All the kids get out of high school. She moves into my house. So we're together. Okay, this is now the 10th year. We go back to grad night. I'm up at Avon Park. I taught up there 5 years, 5.5. And I go to Jean Lund. I said, I'd like to chaperone grad night. And this is 10 years. So we go back, and I proposed to her in front of the Magic Kingdom.
Wow.
So we're engaged. And then there again, we didn't want to get married. We both had kids, divorces, and all that. So anyhow, 3 years, she moves in with me after 10 years, my house, because all the kids are gone.
Yeah.
We're free and clear. It's just her and me. So we have 3 good years. And then the 13th year, she has a terrible pain in her back. And she's got 2 tumors on her spine.
Oh.
She's got breast cancer,
Oh.
metastatic, stage 4, which when you have stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, you got 1,000 tumor. When they do a bone scan, there are black dots all over your skeleton. It's like you had those, what do you call those bugs, or the barnacles?
Oh, yeah,
It's almost like, okay, so anyhow, on her spine, she had 2 big tumors, and this is where the back pain was coming from. So they radiated those 2 tumors right here in Sebring, and she had no pain for 5 years. She went to Moffitt. Moffitt kept giving her different things. One thing would quit working, put her on another thing. So she had 5 years pain-free. And we used to go to Cypress Gardens. They were still open at the time. Every weekend, keep her mind off the thousands of tumors. She would buy the CD, whoever was coming. We'd listen to the CD on the way over and on the back. We had 4th row back with reserved seats. They knew she had cancer, so they always took care of her. In fact, the last year of her life, they gave her free
Really?
tickets. Yeah. But anyhow, she'd always take the pictures, then she'd come home and develop the pictures, put them in her scrapbook.
Yeah.
So for those 5 years, she had no pain. We'd go to Cypress Gardens. She would keep busy with that all week long, so it kept her mind off it. But at the end, all those tumors get big because nothing works. They've tried everything, gone from one thing to another. Eventually, there's nothing left. So those 1,000 tumors then get big, and it blocks your lymphatic system. That's why I tell you when I walk, I'm always putting my arms above my head because that cleans out your lymphatic system. But anyhow, these tumors, when they get big, your arms and legs get huge. They're filled with fluid. It's almost like elephantitis. You're actually bedridden. You can't get out of your bed. And at the very end, that fluid builds up and you actually drown to death. You're trying to get a breath of air, but that's what kills you in stage 4 cancer is you drowned.
Oh, my. What a...
So, but it was, again, that's another thing in life.
Yeah.
But we had 18 years together. First 13 were pretty good. The last 5 were a little shaky.
Yeah.
But Cypress Gardens really pulled us through those 5 years. And we saw so many groups. So that was an amazing, when Disney came along, it really kind of wiped out Cypress Gardens.
It did, yeah.
So they tried all these concerts to get people
I remember
to come.
that. Yeah.
And they gave school teachers free season passes. So we just had to pay for Barbara. Yeah. And we were in business. Yeah. And they took care of her. They gave her the best seats, and they really took good care of her. Yeah. And she was really healthy for 5 years. She had no pain. But at the end, the last month, not fun.
Can't imagine.
Yeah. And it's fun. At that time, we didn't have a hospice here. So Moffitt, her last month was in Moffitt in Tampa. And then when you get to the very end, they put you in a hospice. And we didn't have one. So they sent her up to Dade City. And it was like a southern mansion. It was just a beautiful place. And, of course, she was bedridden at that time. She couldn't walk. And she said, would you wheel my bed over? I want to see that bathroom because it was a huge bathroom. So I did that. And then she actually got up out of that bed. She wanted to walk, and she fell, of course, because her legs and arms were. When you have lymphedema, when all that was tumors blocked, the lymph system is really your drainage system. And if you have tumors that block that, all that fluid just builds up. Yeah. So she tried to walk, but she fell right away because you're so heavy from the fluid. It's just unbelievable. They used to try compression stocks on her and so forth, Moffitt. But at the end, you can't stop that fluid. It's just you're ballooned. Yeah. So that's what takes you out. But yeah, we had 18 great years, except for the last month.
Right. Wow.
Yep. Yeah, I actually diagnosed that cancer. She said she had that back pain. I said, because then she showed me. She said, I hit my breast at a box on work. And I look at that. I said, no. I said, you got breast cancer. My aunt died of that. And it was one of the most traumatic things. Back in the early days of breast cancer, there was nothing.
That's right.
It was a horrible death. I keep Barbara alive 5 years. In the old days, you just died. And it was a terrible death. Yeah. So to get 5 years from Moffitt, that's big news. Yeah, good news. Sure. No, I saw it. I saw it was because it's indented. It actually sucks your breast in. And I said, oh, no, you've got cancer. It's gone to the bone. When she said she had the backache, that's because we got home. In fact, I went to my daughter's first. She was living in Miami at the time. And I told them right away, she's got breast cancer. It's gone to the bone. So we got home here, called Dr. Skipper. And, of course, he wanted to do a mastectomy. I said, well, no, this is way past that. So you get over to Moffitt and they say, no, it's everywhere. You just got to do all the chemicals. And they used to use a lot of tamoxifen and things like that would block the estrogen. And that's what gave her those 5 years. They just kept that estrogen away from those tumors. They were all there, but don't give them any food. So she had a good life. She loved her 5 years.
Yeah. Well, what a gift that was for both of you.
And there again, it's funny, Cypress Gardens, they just did a thing on Heartland Living magazine. Have you seen it?
No.
It's got the skiers at Cypress
nice.
Gardens.
All right.
And they did a big, in fact, I got one home I can get to you.
Okay.
But it was a beautiful story inside. And for me, it was our 5 years. We'd go to that Cypress. It's funny, my dad, the farmer, worked hard, but in the wintertime, he would come down to Cypress Gardens in Florida, and he'd come back and he'd be so elated.
Really?
Yeah. Back in the old days, Cypress Gardens was it.
Well, it was.
Yeah. But he loved it. And, I've come down, and if you're a retired teacher, they'd give us those free passes forever.
Yep.
We'd go to so many ski shows.
Sure.
I knew them by heart.
Yep.
And my dad went to those. So it was important to me, just because my dad enjoyed it, I enjoyed them too.
Absolutely.
And Barb enjoyed them.
Yep.
But we loved that Cypress Garden.
It was beautiful.
Inside now, yeah. Oh, I've got those magazines all over my house.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of those 5 years.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm saying. As you get older, whatever works, whatever keeps you optimistic and bright-eyed and getting up, you ought to see my house. I got more. I'm a Trumper for one thing. So I got Trump campaign signs out of my windows. I got flags. I got crosses. I got everything that inspires you.
Yeah.
Anything that when I wake up, I see my crosses,
Yeah.
my American flags, my Trump. I see my Cypress Gardens. I see my Assembly Church grand opening. All that stuff. I got my Harry Avery 40th anniversary. All that stuff is just, and I've done all that. I've lived all that.
Yeah.
See, those 5 years at Cypress Gardens, you can't take that away.
That's right.
That was beautiful.
Yep.
So when I see those pictures, I said, I lived that.
That's right. You did.
Yeah, that's part of my life.
Very cool.
Yeah, gives you a lot.
Jerry, thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yes.
I love you, man.
You too.
I'll see you soon.
You're number one.
I'll never forget.
We didn't talk about the 30-degree weather at 5.
Oh yeah, that's another. We could
4 hours.
We could do many more of these. Hey, thank you. You got it. The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.